Welcome to Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
Well, happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute, and with us, as always, in studio, we have Ryan, our jack of all trades, fact checker, master of one or two.
Hello.
And Kane is with us producing today. So we've got, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. First of all, happy Sunday. We've got a tremendous amount of info to get into, but before we do that, I kind of want to set the tone for some of you that are new listeners. Again, my name is Dr. Eric Nepute. By trade, I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and, we run a full-serviced wellness center in St. Louis. So, we have chiropractors and medical doctors and nurse practitioners. We kind of have, it's almost like your one-stop shop for health and wellness, like a super Walmart, But we're not here just to promote the business. We're here, I'm basically on the airwaves out of frustration of, listen, what if everything that you knew health-wise was a lie? Or what if you only got one side of the story? And what we're here to do is to expand your thinking and get you to understand that you can have life and have health and have it more abundantly. And that's the whole purpose of this deal. Just over the last couple weeks, things like the NSA scandal that's been going on, the IRS crazy stuff that's been going on. And, these are government agencies that are out here to protect us, quote unquote. And, we want to let you know that there's things going on with the FDA and the AMA and all kinds of other things. We want you to know, give you all the options so that you can decide what really is the best course of action. And that's really the whole deal with our show. And it's really been impacting people all over the globe. I mean, we have people that are listening to us in Europe and Asia, and we've got some Kenyans out there that are listening from what I'm seeing Facebook hits. So all of you, I want to give you a shout out and thanks for the support. But man, it's really changing a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, you were just telling me right before we got on, you were telling me about a lady in your office that said, she's totally changed her whole life.
Well, there's a young lady who has been coming to see us now for about a month, and she's had chronic pain. Have you ever heard of fibromyalgia?
Yeah.
Before, you guys have heard of this before,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Well, fibromyalgia is one of those deals that it's just so you know, as doctors, we like to wow you with fancy words. So let me break down fibromyalgia. Fibro means muscle or fiber, and algia means pain. So basically, you've been diagnosed with muscle fiber pain. So the thing is that what we always look at is what's the cause of it, right? So this young lady's had fibromyalgia for like 18 plus years, chronic back pain, leg pain, lymph swelling in her legs, and she's been on all kinds of medication because of it. Depression is caused by, all kinds of stuff, high blood pressure, everything. So we sat down with her, and she says, listen, I heard about you guys on the radio. I like what you sound. It sounds like you got something good going on. How can you help me find the cause of my problem? No one's ever talked to me about that. They've just given me pills to mask my symptoms, and that's it. Well, we found out with her case that she had some neurological issues that were really simple to fix. Is some things we talk about chiropractically called subluxations, which means she had a misaligned vertebra in a couple areas of her spine. Over time, we helped realign that with a simple chiropractic adjustment, and that helped her symptoms of pain. But then we put her on some nutrition. We got her, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, we got her pH, her internal chemistry alkaline by giving her some minerals like magnesium. Simple stuff. And I'm talking like for 4 weeks and a couple $100 maybe at most, her problem solved. And she goes, you don't understand. She sat down and she's like, and we're going to get this testimonial because I'm not going to do it justice, but she says, my pain's gone. She says, I've been at work at this place for the 17 years, and my boss says I'm a better worker, and I'm playing with my kids again. It's just amazing. Yeah. So anyway.
But wait a minute. They make a pill for fibromyalgia, don't they? The benefit is that it almost might help you.
Well, but then the deal is that there's 15 side effects for
exactly.
that. Well, and it says on the pill's called Lyrica, and that's...
I've seen that.
And it says on the commercial, we know fibromyalgia is caused by overexcitation of nerves. It says it on the commercial, and the drug Lyrica is supposed to help reduce the overexcitation of the nerve, which... By the way, overexcitation or underexcitation of a nerve, we call that in chiropractic a subluxation. Right. A simple adjustment to the spine can relieve that.
I like how
also known as a symptom.
Yeah,
exactly. That's all it is.
I like how Dr. Eric pulls that part out of the commercial when all I hear on those commercials are like 45 seconds of what the side effects of that drug is.
Of a 60-second commercial, 45 seconds have to be dedicated to those things.
It does. It absolutely does, because it's it's one of those deals that that's the thing is that, and we live in this society here in the United States that for every ill there's a pill, there's a drug and a potion for every symptom that's out there, and all symptoms are a symptom, anything, whether it's neck pain, back pain, headaches, fibromyalgia, they were talking about depression on the show before us. Those are all caused by something. Find the cause of that, fix the cause, and guess what? Not only do you become healthier, but your symptoms go away, and you don't have 15 or 20 other side effects. And you know what you get, which is what most people want? It's called freedom. Yeah. You get freedom from not being bound to a disease or a symptom. And next week we're going to be talking about, next week it's the 4th of July. We're talking about freedom. One of the biggest liberties you can have is your health. Yeah. And not being bound to what drug you're going to have. Or I don't know if you guys know this, but did you know that every minute in the United States somebody files for bankruptcy? Yeah. Every minute. And half of those are because of medical issues. Yeah. So every 30 seconds.
Wow. I read that 60% of bankruptcies are medical.
They are.
Yeah.
And the thing is that and this is not me saying, well, it isn't me saying it, but it's quoting, what's her name? Elizabeth, I can't think of it, but she's a Harvard medical.
Oh, okay,
deal.
Okay.
But they were talking about this, that everybody, the bankruptcy stuff that we're talking about. So the deal is that those folks that had Cadillac coverage still were susceptible to bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's what I read, is that it didn't mean it didn't make a difference how great your insurance was. Well, and you look at things in the news, like I just saw this thing on Forbes that a drug recall from the FDA that there was. I mean, this is crazy. There was a drug.
It was Wellbutrin.
Yeah, Wellbutrin.
Wellbutrin XL, which was a generic form of Wellbutrin.
And explain that.
Let me. This is important because I know that the show before they were talking about depression, and I don't know if you've seen the commercials for Wellbutrin, but it's an antidepressant medication.
Right. That may cause depression.
That may cause depression.
I swear, that's in the commercial. I'm not kidding.
Well, it is, and guess what? It can do is it can cause depression because it messes up your neurotransmitters in your brain. And so anyway, long story short, the way that this went down, and Ryan, let's go ahead and put that on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I just did.
Which is at Nepute Wellness. That's Nepute Wellness on Facebook. Basically, the gist of it was, and Kane, this is crazy, this company, pharmaceutical company, decided that we're going to go ahead and make a generic form of Wellbutrin so we can sell it cheaper, which I'm cool with that. Okay. But the thing is the FDA said, well, we just trust you that you're going to do your own double-blind placebo studies to make sure this is safe and effective. Oh. They said, yeah, we'll do those. Oh, but they forgot to do them. And guess what happened? People were getting sick. Well, they were causing manic depressive issues. They weren't working. And the FDA did a recall. But now here's the deal on that isn't the FDA supposed to be protecting us?
Be the one protecting us, right.
I mean, is that not who's supposed to regulate that?
Apparently, what they did, I'm reading this article, it's crazy. What it was is there was an original strength of 150 milligrams.
Right.
Well, they came out with a new double strength, which was 300 milligrams. Well, they did the test for the 150, but they figured since it was 300, it's going to be virtually the same thing, right? Just more powerful. So they waived that. They didn't do any kind of testing on it.
Oh, my God.
It's crazy. And
here's the thing. They make millions and billions of dollars off it, and then the penalties in court are thousands of dollars.
Well,
you know what I mean? Or whatever.
We were talking a couple weeks ago that there was a huge lawsuit that a huge pharmaceutical company had to pay back $2 billion in penalties, fines, and all this stuff. But that was fine because they made $16 billion off of the drug that they lied about, and it was no one went to jail over it. No, so that's the thing.
If I had it, I'd spend $2 billion to make $16 billion.
Well, it's called marketing. It's called cost of doing business, Kane, and everybody has that, but not $2 billion.
And by the way, this went on for this went on for a while, but they were automatically getting complaints, and they weren't doing anything about it.
And they'll name something Wellbutrin.
Yeah, like you like that? Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's a little
Well, that's the thing is that people need to listen. Here's the deal: we need to get our heads out of the sand, because if we just keep our heads down and ignore problems that are going on, even in the headline news that's going on, they're not going to go away. They're going to exacerbate and eventually explode. Like, how about this? We just talked last week when we had Dr. Billy DeMoss on the program, which was a trip, by the way.
He was great.
Dude was phenomenal. He will be back again soon.
I had to use the dump button for him.
Only once, though, which
one time.
He was super
I was proud of that.
He was really proud of that. But, like, listen to this. We were talking about how the American Medical Association just declared obesity a disease now. It's a disease. So what does that mean? If you now have obesity, if you're overweight and you've got 30% or more body mass index or your percentage of body fat's that high, then that means that it's not your fault that you're overweight. It's a disease.
They have a pill for this now?
There's lots of them coming down the pipe. Because guess what?
That's coming.
The way that it works in healthcare, in our healthcare, which I'm using parentheses because it's a sick care system, if you have what's called a diagnostic code, you can then therefore diagnose a drug for it, prescribe a drug, and now if you have obesity, there's a drug for that that's going to help you fix your obesity, which is crazy. So who's not going to qualify for that drug? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is the same thing that happened with cholesterol and blood pressure. Once our weight goes down as a society, the restrictions or the limit on how skinny someone's supposed to be to consider obese is going to go down. Let's say we're saying now it's 30% body mass index.
20 to 25.
It'll be 25 or whatever. But anyway, that was in the news, and people do have some misconceptions about weight loss. They think that it's just about eating right and exercising, which is a huge part of it.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
And a lot of people get caught in that catch-22 where they're in so much pain. They say, I can't lose the weight because I'm in so much pain, so I can't do any of the exercise, and I'm in so much pain because I can't lose weight. So it's like this vicious cycle. A lot of people feel like they're in that.
Well, here's how you break that cycle. It's not that hard. And you're right. That cycle is out there, and there's a lot of people, I guarantee, that are listening right now that are in that cycle where they've got pain, primarily things like joint pain in the back, the hips, and the knees. And, every pound of weight that you're overweight adds 4 pounds of pressure at each joint. So if you're 100 pounds overweight, it's 400 pounds in your right knee and your left knee.
It's no surprise that they're in pain.
So that cycle is, it hurts to exercise, it hurts to move. So what you do is find the cause of the pain and you fix it. Let's say it's a knee. Let's say your knee is starting to degenerate and you're getting arthritis. And when we come back from the break, make sure you ask me about arthritis. I'm going to talk about that. But there's actually supplementation that you can actually inject right to your knee joint to regenerate your knee. And it knocks pain down unbelievably, but it's not like a cortisone shot where it just masks symptoms. It helps fix it.
And you were saying something, I know we can't get into it now because we're getting ready to come up on a break, but you were saying something on the way to the show about weight and how it's stored in the body. It's real interesting how you were talking about that and the foods that we eat. So when we get back,
well, I'll tell you what I'll do is this. When we get back from our break, I will tell everyone that's listening right now how to break that cycle of how to get out of pain and how to lose weight, some simple, effective, and cost-affordable ways for them to figure out their health. So make sure that all of you right now tune in, tell your friends and family. Find us on Facebook. We're Nepute Wellness. That's Nepute Wellness. And we'll be right back with more of this.
Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
I've been trying to make it home, not to make it before too long.
Talk lines are open now at 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797. This is Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
Welcome back to Wellness Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute. And before the break, we were talking about some of the headlines in the news, and one of them was the how the AMA just declared obesity a disease, and we kind of got into how it's a vicious cycle. You'd mentioned that there's a lot of people that say I'm overweight because I can't exercise because it hurts too bad, and then when I eat certain foods I feel horrible, and you get into that cycle. So I said I would explain how to fix that. Because, apparently I must have hit a hot topic when I was talking about knees, because I got 2 or 3 text messages
knees are so...
about knees because of that. So let me talk about the knee deal. So let's say someone has a lot of pain. So you can't exercise because your joint hurts, because your back hurts, your knees hurt, something like that. What we do is this, and you were explaining before about chronic joint pain, or you were asking me a question about it. So here's the deal that we do with the knees. There's a supplement called hyaluronic acid. I don't know if you guys ever heard of hyaluronic acid or not, but it's a supplement that people have been taking for years orally to help them with arthritis and joint pain, and helps improve mobility.
Right.
So you know how we do the Myers cocktails, which, if those of you that are new listening to us, what that is a mega dose vitamins that we can actually inject into your bloodstream.
I had my first one like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you did, which I want to get back to because that was all over news a minute ago.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the knee deal. You can actually take hyaluronic acid and some other plant-based botanicals, almost like an aloe vera type substance, and you can literally inject it right into a knee that has osteoarthritis, knee degeneration, all this kind of stuff. And what it does, not only does it knock the pain down, which is beautiful, but it can actually regenerate the joint space. So you can see on an x-ray where, you've heard of bone on bone before.
Yeah.
Well, you can see on an X-ray where someone's bone on bone, and then you do this series of knee injections to them, which is as natural as you're going to get.
Right.
I mean, it's vitamins, it's minerals. It's plant-based botanicals. That's not a drug.
Right.
You put it right into the knee, and over time, and when I mean over time, over a course of about 5 weeks, which is not long, you'll actually see a space develop between those knees again, which is super cool. And I've never had a patient that's gone through that protocol that hasn't had reduction of symptoms and more increased mobility, which is beautiful. So then they can get exercising again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one way to get you moving if it's your knees, and it's called viscosupplementation. It's very simple, very natural, and it helps a ton, but a lot of doctors don't talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the knee thing hits home for me because I messed my knee up so bad. I'm a young guy, obviously, but I mean, I messed it up really, really bad.
Well, okay.
You know.
Can we ask how you did it? Or what?
Well, for whatever reason, the muscles in my knee were bad. I twisted, and I call it dislocated my knee, but it just like it slipped out of place. And I mean, it was swelled up, huge. It was bad. And so the knee thing, because you can't actually, I mean, it hurt so bad. You can't, well, I went to an orthopedist, or orthopedic surgeon kind of guy. Right. And the first thing that MRI, and you're probably going to have surgery because it tore my meniscus. And I'm thinking, I do not want surgery. And the biggest thing I didn't want surgery is I kept on talking to people who had had knee surgeries. And they were like, oh yeah, I'm on my third knee surgery. I'm going, what? Why am I going to do that? If I just get no surgeries, I'll be in about the same shape you're in. Right. Because they're like, oh, yeah, I'm still hurting. Well, why am I going to do that?
Well, the thing is that, we're talking about knees, so we got off the subject about obesity, but let's talk about the knees since we're on it because it's a hot topic.
Yeah.
And, obviously your knee situation was a lot different. What Ryan had was basically a subluxated knee or a twisted knee joint. And just like if you sprain an ankle or twist a knee or twist an elbow, that joint, in order for it to get feeling better and work again, it needs to be untwisted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
So most people that have joint pain, they go to an orthopedic surgeon. And listen, I have a lot of friends that are orthopedic surgeons, and they're phenomenal. But if your tool is a hammer, everything's a nail. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And luckily, you didn't, Ryan, in your case, you didn't have anything torn on an MRI, because if you did, I guarantee they would have recommended surgery for you. Now, I'm talking about people who have chronic knee pain.
Like arthritis?
Arthritis is such a catch-all term anyway, because a lot of people perceive that since they're over the age of 20 that they're going to have pain because of arthritis, which is such a crock.
Because you just get arthritis when you get old, right?
No, that's crazy. We have people that I see under X-ray all the time that are in their 50s, 60s, 80s, and 90s and don't have any arthritis. Or they may have arthritis in one knee and not the other. And then when I show them that they have, an arthritic or degenerative knee, and I show them how to fix it, they're excited. But then they say, well, I'm 50 or 60. It's an old age problem. Right. Well, then I show them their other knee, and I ask them one question. Isn't the left knee the same age as the right knee? And then they all go, oh yeah. So it's not an old age issue, is it?
Right.
No, it's not. Because you can have arthritis in your teens if you overdo it. Arthritis is caused by an imbalance in the mechanics of your joint. Believe it or not, poor nutrition and food. Eating foods that are pro-inflammatory, like these GMO products that are all over the place out there right now, that causes an increase in arthritis. So if people have pain, primarily knee pain and all that stuff, there are natural solutions to help stop the degeneration.
And that's kind of step one, right? Get you out of pain to where you can start moving into that weight loss, lifestyle to where you can start getting healthy. And then that goes into kind of food, right? And the kind of food that you're putting in your body and food allergies.
Well, and that's a really important thing. And then you just hit on that was food allergies, which was all over the news over the last 2 weeks. People talking about, well, there's certain people that are susceptible to certain foods. And again, it brings us back to, that they were talking about with the GMO debate that's going on.
Yeah.
So GMO is genetically modified organisms. So what they're doing now is they're taking tomatoes and corn and all this stuff, and they're injecting, all kinds of fun genes in them so that you don't need herbicides or larvicides or fungicides, and you can grow a 30-pound tomato.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really 30 pounds, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there's certain foods that people are sensitive to, just like, well, you guys have heard of diabetes before, right?
Yeah.
Well, diabetics can't have what? Sugar, right? I mean, essentially, a diabetic is extremely allergic to sugar. Well, there are foods that people are sensitive or allergic to, and they don't even realize it. So here's some symptoms that people may have when it comes to food allergies. So tell me if you've heard of any of these symptoms. Sore, stiff joints.
Sure.
Which a lot of people call that arthritis.
Yeah.
Headaches and migraines.
Right.
Irritable bowel syndrome, Now, if you want to know more about irritable bowel syndrome, talk to John Pertzborn about that. Those
That
of you
video,
that
have you linked that video up yet on the
I'm
Facebook
trying.
page?
Apparently,
We're
they
working
won't.
on that.
Yeah, we're working on it.
All right.
But those of you that didn't see, we were on Fox 2 News the other
was
morning
great.
with John Pertzborn and his people. We adjusted John on the news, and he has a new condition
Yeah.
that we'll talk about at some other time.
Yeah, it's
but
completely
stay
different.
tuned.
Completely different.
But sore, stiff joints, irritable bowel syndrome, gas and bloating, depression, insomnia,
Even
anxiety,
skin, like skin, eczema.
You're absolutely, and any condition that kids can have, like ADD or ADHD. There's research that shows that these people can be sensitive to it. Now, I just had a woman who was having trouble losing weight in our office. So we ran a specific blood test that most insurance covers.
Right.
Maybe cost. I've had some people that it's been no charge for them,
Right.
because their insurance pays it.
Yeah.
Some that pay, $20 or $30 or whatever, but it's very inexpensive. And it helps you find out what foods that you specifically should and should not eat. And this young lady was having trouble losing weight, and she was allergic to lettuce, rice.
Lettuce?
Yeah, lettuce was one of them, but it doesn't tell us what kind. But she was allergic, and all she was eating was chicken. And you would think that those are healthy foods, but she was sensitive to those. Guess what happened? As soon as she stopped eating those foods, and we got her on some other things, so the weight started falling off. Her joint pain was gone. Her headaches that we've been working on for a while, they started clearing up. Because
That's
it's finding the
wild.
cause. So anyone who's got a chronic condition that hasn't gotten what's called an IgG OAT blood test to find out what you're sensitive to, you're missing a ton.
I mean, you said but I feel like that. Like everyone should get that test.
Really and truly, everyone should. If you want to have to find out what foods you should, like your kids should eat or shouldn't
kids
eat.
a big one, I would imagine.
Well, we were talking about this on the way over today. There's certain foods that play major roles in stuff, and we talked about how the research is showing that high gluten type foods like wheat products and all this grain actually have been shown to cause neurological problems, MS, Parkinson's, all this kind of stuff. And getting people off these certain foods helps them clear up those symptoms, which is crazy. Up until recently, most doctors who treat those conditions would never say that nutrition has anything to do with that because they're ignorant to it. And there's a difference between being ignorant and stupid. Now that this information and literature is out there, and if these doctors don't tell their patients that you should have more D vitamin, you should have certain foods and get these tests, well, that then becomes stupid. And you know what Jeff Foxworthy says? You can't fix stupid. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think, does that kind of clear up the
No, it
obesity thing?
absolutely does. The food allergy thing is just such a big one. It just seems like that's almost a no-brainer that everyone should have that test to realize what they're allergic to. Because I bet there's people that she had no idea she was allergic to lettuce. If somebody told me I was allergic to lettuce, I wouldn't believe them.
Well, to be honest with you, until I started
even
doing
rice.
this test, I wouldn't think they would be either. Because if you want to talk about what you think healthy foods are. But healthy it's such a relative term. Healthy to you is different than healthy to me, and what's good for you is not good for me. That's why it can't be what's called cookbook. It's got to be specific for you as a person. If you're not getting the results that you want for your health, don't give up, because I bet you haven't, quote unquote, tried everything yet.
No.
We've had folks that have come from the Mayo Clinic, which is, the quote-unquote mecca for finding the cause of your problem. But if they're not looking for things like subluxations in the spine, if they're not looking for food allergies, if they're not looking for vitamin deficiencies, they're going to miss them. And I've seen people that have spent thousands, and we talked to some, Ryan, that have spent millions of dollars to get the cause of their problem fixed.
And still didn't get it.
And they didn't get it. And then for maybe a couple $100 finding a blood test for nutrition, they get it fixed. And they're like, this is amazing.
It almost seems too simple.
It is simple. And that's the big thing, is that there's this whole, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz, the wizard behind the curtain. And when you pull the curtain back and you really know what's going on, you're like, gosh, this is not impressive at all.
Yeah.
And once you find out that the human frame, the human body, you just check structurally. If the structures is working good, then the function's good. You check neurologically. If the nerves are working good, the brain works properly. And if your chemistry is good, everything's balanced. If there's an imbalance in there, that's going to cause sickness and disease. And when we come back from break, I'll get deeper into that. And I want to talk about some more things that are in the news, especially when it comes to kids' health, like vaccines and foods and nutrition. So make sure that you guys get on Facebook at Nepute Wellness. That's Nepute Wellness. And we'll be back right after a short break.
Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
Hey, so tomorrow.
Talk lines are open now at 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797. This is Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
See me right out of the sunset on your.
All right, you're listening to Wellness Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute. And over the break, I had a couple questions texted to me about getting into the blood test a little more, especially when it comes to kids. So I'm going to get into that and arthritis. But before we do that, I was given a little audio clip today from Bill Maher. Bill Maher's his show.
It's
that
okay.
he's got on
Make a
HBO.
habit of not listening to it too
Well,
often.
either way. But I thought it was interesting because here's the deal, is that this type of information is all over media, whether it's, we're talking about it or it's on HBO or whatever. So I want to play a little bit of this clip and then I want to comment about it. So let's go ahead and hit that for me if you can, Kane.
The solution to that is not then to make it a secret thing that I'm ingesting it, but rather to convince me
We're
that
talking
it's
about
safe.
GMO
And
foods.
To show that we are not partisan. The villain in this is Obama to me, because first of all, he promised
that's
blatantly
not
that he would look into this and do something.
My mother-in-law's not gonna like that
He also appointed, what is the guy's name? Michael Taylor. Used to be a VP at Monsanto, the seat of evil, to be the food czar, the FDA deputy commissioner of foods. And of course, Monsanto's latest Frankenfood got speedy approval because this guy is in charge of it. Because it's like putting Jerry Sandusky in charge of Chuck E. Cheese. Of course he's going to approve with speediness.
Should anything, if
remember
there
that
is not
being
a
on there,
health risk, if there's
He
not
says here it's not a
and
health
there
risk.
are not health risks
But there may
associated.
be a health
Wait.
Yeah, that's
there
what we're
may
talking
be. There are not known health risks that are associated with GMOs.
That's BS.
Why shouldn't the
That's a lie.
labeling be voluntary? And then if you choose,
Voluntary?
Oh yeah, I know. Voluntary in America, you've got to be nuts.
Right, let's trust.
Voluntary.
All right. So here's the deal: is that what they're talking about is the GMO deal that we're constantly bringing up, and some people know about this, some people don't. And what that means is that basically there's been some legislation that's been passed through government that says that it's okay for us to have genetically modified foods, but not to have to label it. So as an American citizen, which we're supposed to have certain rights. And part of it is I want to know what the heck is going in my body when I'm eating food. Information, right? And they don't have to put it on there. So if there's GMO products, so genetically modified stuff that's going in food that we don't know about, we're going to get sick from it. And the guy on there said, well, there's no known research that shows that GMO foods cause blah, blah, blah sickness. That is a lie. That's an absolute lie. So here's the thing, is that there's a ton of research out there that shows that when we eat certain foods, that our body is susceptible to those foods. And probably like we were talking about with the wheat and the gluten, like we're talking about with the allergy testing, that what happens is your body produces, and here's a fancy doctor term.
Here we go.
Leukocytosis. If you're ever on Jeopardy, that's a fancy doctor term that means lots of white blood cells in your stomach because you're eating something that your body says is not good for you. So the immune system tries to fight that off. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So guess what happens? When you have prolonged leukocytosis, so excessive white blood cells in your gut, your GI tract for a long time, the human body starts to develop something called an autoimmune syndrome. You ever heard of autoimmune diseases?
Yeah, sure.
Your body attacks itself, essentially.
That's exactly it. So we're talking about things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. We're talking about all kinds of symptoms that people are getting because of the food that they're eating.
But let's just trust the GMO manufacturers. Let's just trust those drug makers like Wellbutrin to just do their double-blind
Well, and here's the
placebo
issue with
tests.
it. Here's the issue with it. They constantly do this where they won't label GMOs. Okay, fine. You won't label GMOs. But now, like in Oregon, they're trying to pass a bill in Oregon now for parents who opt out of vaccines for their children. They're trying to pass it now to where they have to watch an educational film. If you choose to opt out of it, you have to watch an educational film and have a doctor sign off that you've watched this education. So,
and the film is what? It's dangerous to not vaccinate kids?
Hey, listen, it's probably produced by Pfizer or Merck. But here's the deal. You know what? The bottom line is it comes down is this. Follow the money. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Chris Rock, I remember when I was a kid, I heard him say this. There's no money in the cure.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, exactly.
Brzezinski's cured cancer years ago. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
Look that up. Dr. Brzezinski, the Brzezinski Institute.
Anti-neoplastons, I tell you.
There's research that shows that certain foods contribute to MS. There's research that shows that vaccines are not safe. All I'm trying to do is let you know, the people of the world, so that we're not sheeple of the world anymore, let you know that there's two sides of the story.
Yeah.
The only thing that you're getting is half of the truth. And that goes with this GMO stuff. That's a complete lie. I can't tell you how many people that I've had come to see me from all over the United States that have had a horrible diet. They've had a couple things that they're quote unquote allergic to food-wise that they shouldn't be eating. We change their diet and their life changes. Remember a couple months ago we had a woman that called into the show who I didn't ask her to call. She came in as a patient.
I remember that.
She did a urine test with us. She was so scared because what she saw on there was her liver was failing, her kidneys were bad, all this stuff she was allergic to. She literally went home, changed her diet, stopped drinking all the diet sodas.
Yep.
She stopped eating all the, the processed foods. And within 1 week, she said 90% of her symptoms were gone. We live in Missouri. Those of you that don't know, we're in St. Louis, Missouri. This is the show me state. And the bottom line is, I don't care what Pfizer, Merck, the FDA, all these other companies are saying is good for you or safe for you. The proof is in the pudding. When you have all these symptoms and you start eating good God food that grows in the ground and doesn't have a bunch of junk in it, a bunch of processed crap, then your body gets healthy because you are what you eat, And I don't care what symptom you have, food has a huge component to it. So if you're going to any doctor or any person out there trying to get quote unquote healthy, and if they're not addressing the foods that you're eating, so what's coming in or what's coming out, you're missing a huge piece of your puzzle. And you may feel good now, but you may drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow, or you may go to the doctor feeling great and leave with a diagnosis of diabetes or heart disease. These are things that people get diagnosed with all the time, and it's caused because there's an imbalance in the system somewhere, not because your mother, father, or whoever had those problems. We now know that's a complete it's very irrelevant towards what's going on. We know that it's more familial, which means the reason why people have disease that runs in their generations in their family, it's because they eat the same way that mom and dad did. They exercise the same way. They manifest stress the same way. They live their life the same way. So if you want to find out how to get your health and really get healthy, and I don't care how down the toilet or drain you are, if you've been told by everyone under the sun, well, that's it, you're just going to be stuck with this walker, or you're going to be stuck on this pain pill, or you're going to be stuck with this stuff. If you're willing to do what it takes to get the answers and then to take action on how to fix it, I don't care what symptom you have, you can get better. And you can't tell me different because I've seen it. Remember one of the first shows we did, I just came from a seminar where Dr. Dick Versendahl was at. There was a guy who had a stroke. 5 years he's had his left arm drawn up into that,
I saw the picture.
Position. And Dr. Versendahl says to him, "Oh, you've got a nerve problem in your neck that's controlling that arm. It's not working." He says, "I'm going to get your arm working today." And the guy looked at him like, "Well, I hope you can." It's been 5 years. Within 15 minutes, the guy's moving his arm. He's crying like a baby. How cool is that?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or how about, like I was talking about, the lady at the beginning of the show who's had fibromyalgia, chronic pain, all this stuff for 15, 18 years. She's tried everything, spent tons of money, her savings, her inheritance, trusted all these doctors to do all this stuff. No one helped her one time other than get her addicted to pain pills. So now she's a drug addict, which we're working on getting the pain pills down and helping her get off that addiction. She comes to someone who runs a wellness center, and we start looking at things like, what's your lifestyle like? What's your food intake like? What are you allergic to? What's the cause of your problems? How do you think? Because how you think manifests your pain. We start changing some of those mechanics, and guess what? Bam, her body gets healthy. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and if people are looking towards help from the government to dictate their good health, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Well, we see this thing with the FDA that we just talked about in the beginning about, they let these drugs onto the market that weren't even effective drugs. And we've looked at how many drug recalls have we talked about where all these, what was that one that you always talk about? Was it a cholesterol or
we talk about Vioxx a lot.
Vioxx, yeah.
Vioxx was approved by the FDA. It was approved twice by it, and it killed thousands and thousands of people. So the deal is that, people always say to me, I give a lot of folks a supplement. Here's some vitamin C. It's a water-soluble vitamin. If you take too much, you're going to urinate it out. And they look at it, and on the back of it, because every product says talk to your doctor before consumption, or, do as instructed. Can I overdose on this? No, you can't. You might choke on the pill, but you're not going to have any side effects of it. If you take too much vitamin C, the side effect is you might have a little diarrhea. But you know what it's not going to do? It's not going to kill you. It's not.
Cause side effects.
Or cause side effects. It's not. It's absolutely not. So all I'm trying to say is health is not hard to attain. You just have to find the cause of the problem. And that's where I remember a couple weeks ago we were out. I forget where we were, but we were talking at a medical conference, and there was a really well-known medical doctor, director of one of the largest hospitals in the St. Louis area.
That's a conversation I won't soon forget.
And he says to me, we need more offices like your facilities that do what's called wellness. And all wellness means there's a lot of clinics have wellness on their walls, but nobody really knows what the heck that means. All that means is we're looking for the cause of your problem from different areas, physical, chemical, emotional, nutritional. What's the cause? You see, we're not so concerned about treating the symptom as we are what's causing the symptom. So he says, you know what our problem is in our practice, at our hospitals, and all across allopathic medicine? The problem is our options are we either going to prescribe you a drug that you're going to be addicted to within the first 2 weeks, and then you'll need 2 or 3 other drugs for the side effects of those, or we're going to give you a surgery that most likely you don't need, and it's probably not going to work, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to need another one. I couldn't believe that I heard that out of his mouth, and I knew it because I believe it and I've seen it. But he said it to me, and I'm like, what are we going to do about it? He goes, you know what? It's just such a big problem that nobody wants to go after it because it is a big problem.
Yeah, he said people basically slip through the cracks. He's like, they look for something, they want an answer, they don't want to go to the doctor and just hear, I don't know.
Right.
Well, like we were talking a week or so ago, and this happened in my office not too long ago as well. It happens actually every day. Ear infections. I mean, I'll have kids. You hear about kids that get these ear infections. And it's something, there's a protocol that gets developed, and it's called best practices. And the pediatrics practices say if you have an ear infection, you're supposed to do nothing for 7 days. Just watch it for 7 days. And after 7 days, if it's still there, then prescribe an antibiotic. Well, I can't tell you the thousands of kids that I see, which we see tons of kids in our office, that have chronic ear infections. They were on 3rd or 4th rounds of antibiotics, still no resolution, and now they're coming at these kids with tubes for their ears. And, all we need to do is find out, number one, are the kids allergic to a certain food, which is
Why
very
are they
common.
getting the infection?
And then most times the little kids, and everybody understands this, the spinal column is like a big fuse box. And at the base of the skull, the fuse that's literally right underneath the base of the skull, you could put your finger there, that fuse, that nerve controls drainage of the ears, eyes, nose, and throat. If that fuse is blown, it's called a subluxation. All we need to do as a chiropractor, because all chiropractors do is detect and relieve subluxation, that's what we do, then guess what happens? If that's the cause of that little kid's ear infection, it goes away. And almost instantly. I had just last week, and I hope they're listening right now, just last week we had a little boy that came in. He's had 3 months of ear infections. They're talking about doing tubes. The parents said, well, hey, we saw you on Facebook and we heard about what you guys do. Would you take a look at him? Because next Monday they're going to do tubes. Well, that would be tomorrow. So we adjusted him on Monday. We adjusted him on Wednesday. By Thursday, the ear infection was gone. He doesn't have to have tubes. 3 visits.
That's crazy. Hey, when we get back, I saw an interview on The View with a doctor who was talking about these Myers cocktails, these vitamin injections. I got to ask you some questions about that.
Yeah, let's definitely do it. When we come back, make sure they know where to find us out on the web.
And on Facebook, it's Nepute, Nepute on Facebook. So Nepute Wellness on Facebook. Go, follow us there.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
'Cause I'm TNT, I'm dynamite. TNT, and I'll win the fight.
Talk lines are open now at 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797. This is Wellness Matters with Dr. Eric Nepute.
All right, welcome back to Wellness Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute. We've been getting some Facebook hits and some text messages here. We're not going to be able to get to everybody's questions. Here's what I want to do. Let me give some info out because I know that people want to know where they can find us. You can find us on Facebook at Nepute. That's Nepute Wellness. Or they can call us at the clinic at 314-544-5600. And we have a lot of folks that call us from all over the United States, and we help them find doctors in their area that do the things that we do, that have the integrated offices and do all the injections of vitamins and the knee protocols and all that stuff. And before the break, you had mentioned something that you saw on TV. So, Kane, one of Ryan's favorite shows, he watches it every day. It's called The View.
I love that show. It's Whoopi.
Yeah. So you saw something on there about the vitamins, yeah?
Yeah, they were talking. They had a doctor on. Doctor, I think his name is Jeffrey Morrison.
Okay.
And it's so funny when they put these things on because it's always these cutting edge things that they're doing. Well, of course, I think, Dr. Eric's been doing that for like 5 years, but that's okay. But he was talking about the Myers cocktails that, again, you've been doing forever. What are they?
Well, where'd the name come from? Where'd Myers cocktail come from?
I believe it was either the 1950s or 60s. A Dr. Meyer, is a medical doctor, developed what's called a cocktail called the Myers cocktail. And basically what it was, he took a lot of Linus Pauling's work, who was the vitamin C guy, won the Nobel Prize for vitamin C. And he developed a way that you could take high-dose vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin B, which we know are phenomenal for energy, your immune system. I mean, they were fighting things. Now, we don't do it now. But back in the day, they were treating things like rheumatoid arthritis and cancer and all this stuff. Because in the United States, if you try to treat any of that stuff with anything other than the medical approach, that's illegal. Yeah. Okay, even though we treat a lot of patients that have those conditions, and a lot of times they get better, which is great. But we're not treating those conditions. But what they do is they take these high dose vitamins, and they can put it into an IV and give it to you into your veins, which is phenomenal because you can take, 500 or 600 grams of vitamins into a vein, which bypasses your GI system, goes right into your body. Where
that can't be healthy.
It absolutely is. You absorb all of it. Because here's the deal: like if you take more than 6 grams of vitamin C, you're spending the next day on the toilet.
Exactly.
Because it messes up your stomach. When you put it into a vein, I mean, I've seen people that have walked in with chronic pain and walked out without
and there's no side effects to it?
On the research, it says, here's the side effects. Side effects are you may feel really warm because it has magnesium in it.
Yeah, that happened to me. I remember that.
That's right. You did one. It makes your face warm, your chest warm. Sometimes the rectal area gets warm.
Well, I don't remember that.
No, you didn't get that. Sometimes you feel like you have to go to the bathroom. But that's it, and you feel a little dizzy with it. In fact, there's one injection that we do with high-dose magnesium that's specific for headaches and migraines that you're supposed to get kind of dizzy and lightheaded, almost like you've had a glass or two of wine. But what's beautiful is after the patient, after 30 seconds of kind of a little bit of dizziness, usually the migraine that was an 8 or a 10 out of 10 or whatever is gone.
Right, my girlfriend experienced that. As a matter of fact, the first time she had the Myers cocktail and just a little bit of stretching for her neck, that she came in with one off the charts, 11, out of 10, and it was a 4 when she left.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's what the Myers cocktails are, and I love how they were on Dr. Oz was talking about those. Dr. Oz has been talking about adjustments now. All these guys are out there talking about
brand new information,
brand new cutting. This stuff's been around for 100 years.
I know. I always laugh. I was reading something the other day about the benefit, the new benefits of vitamin D,
right?
And I'm thinking, Dr. Eric's been talking about vitamin D forever.
Well, and it's not just me. I learned it from other doctors and other research, which this just came out not too long ago. They're showing that high dose levels, ingested levels of vitamin D with the dog. Now, we know that it's good for the immune system, all this other kind of stuff, but there's actually neuroscience that shows that it can actually stop the degeneration of lesions in people that have MS, multiple sclerosis, and it can actually reverse them. So we're recommending, through the use of our neurologists and all of our other friends that we work with on our healthcare team, to take high doses of vitamin D, and it's amazing. The symptoms go away of MS, Parkinson, a lot of crazy stuff. It's really cool.
So is D3 the same as D? Or?
No, they're all a little different. Vitamin D3 is the one that I'm primarily talking about, which is really more of, it's a vitamin, but it's a pro-hormone. But here's the disclaimer. Anyone who's wanting to go and do some high levels of vitamin D, you got to consult your doctor first, and the right doctor.
Right.
And you need to have some blood tests done to find out how much D you should have. With vitamin A, D, E, and K, those are fat soluble, which means you have a chance that you can become toxic with those. It's very hard to do that. You need a super amount of it to do, but it can happen. So that's the big disclaimer with that, is you really need to consult your doctor. And if your doctor says, your vitamin D levels are right, I would always get a second opinion from someone who practices nutrition, does integrated nutrition, because in medicine, and they'll tell you this. I have a lot of friends that are medical doctors. They're not trained in nutrition at all. Right. So therefore, if they're not trained in it, they can't make any recommendations.
I was taking about like 10,000 what they call units of vitamin D3 a day, and then I upped it to 15 to 20, and I didn't see any issue with that, with D3.
Other than your energy gets better.
Right, you know what I mean?
So for somebody listening, because we've gone just about every subject, and we're all over the place. We're almost out of time. What is a plan of, somebody sitting here listening saying, wow, I learned a lot. What do I do? I feel healthy. I feel fine. Maybe they're in that boat. What do I do still? I mean, is there still a plan of action?
Well, here's the deal. If you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. And if that means that you're sick and you're hurting and you've got knee pain and back pain and headaches and migraines, depression, whatever symptom it is, and you haven't been to someone that's going to help you find the cause of your problem, whether that's a physical cause, a neurological cause, or a nutritional cause, then you're going to keep getting those same symptoms. You're going to keep getting more drugs, which you're going to get addicted to, more surgery, maybe even get a wheelchair. Who knows? I mean, that's what the
way
standard...
it goes now, we're hitting the snooze button on the alarm. Those alarms that go off, which are what really are symptoms.
So my advice is this. Get with someone who knows how to help correct the human imbalances, not just fix the symptoms. If you're going to someone that says, you have this pain, take this pill, find someone else to work with. I'd be happy to help you if we can. We're here in St. Louis. Our office is on the corner of 55 and Bayless. You can find us at Nepute Wellness. My office number is 314-544-5600. But call us if you don't live in the United States, if you don't live in St. Louis.
You do that all the time.
We help people all over the planet find doctors. So all I'm saying is if you want to get different results, you have to change the way you think and you have to change the way you live. And you have to take action. Because if you don't, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. Right. It's just that simple, So tune into our shows every Sunday. We're going to give you as much information as we can. I've got a book out. It's called Divine by Design. In fact, I'll do this. Anyone right now, 200 books is what I'm going to limit it at.
Cool.
200 books. I've got 200 books that we just got off the presses. If you like us on Facebook at Nepute Wellness, and you request a copy of our book, we'll have one mailed to you.
Yeah, just comment, just like us. It's Nepute, Nepute Wellness. Like us, put a comment on there, and say you want the book, and we'll get that. We'll be sure to get that to you.
Yeah. We'll do that. And remember, next week, it's all about the 4th of July. It's about freedom. And one of the biggest freedoms that you can have is the freedom of your health, the freedom of being able to take your life and do whatever you want to do, not be bound to conditions, be bound to drugs, be bound to depression and symptoms. Take action, take steps to get the results, find the cause, fix the problem, because I'm telling you, wellness matters.
Absolutely. And I can speak on that, too. When my back went out, and that's the perspective you get as an individual when you can't move and you can't do something. You talked about health. You don't know what you got till it's gone.
That's right.
Sort of a thing. Take care of that so you don't have to experience life when it's gone.
That's right.
And continue healthy.
And if you feel like you've tried everything out there, I can promise you haven't.
Yeah. There's so many options.
There's so many options out there that people don't know about. And that's what we're here to do, is spread the word. So make sure that you tell your friends and family and loved ones. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. Like us on Facebook. Because remember, folks, wellness matters. We'll see you next week.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar. Go and tell that midnight rider. Tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter. Tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Tell him that God's gonna cut him down.